Welcome to the Project Mom Podcast. I'm your host, Emily Gorey, mom of a sweet baby girl and an ever-evolving entrepreneur. On this show, we will explore the intersection of motherhood and entrepreneurship. We will share stories of moms just like you and me with the goal of fostering community and comfort in knowing that we are not alone in our experiences. Please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to ensure you get all the updated episodes and releases. For those listening or reading or however people are taking this in, because I have no idea what it looks like yet, we are talking to Hannah Abad today. Hannah's a certified mindset and growth strategy coach who focuses on supporting and facilitating breakthroughs, healthy, sustainable professional and personal growth for vision-driven high achievers. Whew, love it. She's also a wife to her amazing husband, who is her business partner, and mom to 2 boys. So Hannah, thank you for joining me today.
Such a pleasure to be here. I'm honored.
Well, thank you. And I'm very appreciative of your enthusiasm to have this discussion with me and share your story because, we talked a little bit about it, but there's a lot of stories that go unheard around this time in our lives as women transitioning into motherhood and that balance of wanting to also be an entrepreneur. And I think a lot of good will come from sharing these stories. And it's nice to know I'm not alone in wanting to share them. So thank you again. I want to dive into, and I just want to make sure I'm getting this in kind of simplistic terms, what it is that you do at the Prime Collaborative, your coaching business. So you're not helping just entrepreneurs, right? You're looking at men and women in the corporate space as well.
Correct.
With goals, right?
Ahead.
So how do we get there? If we're clear, do we get clear on what we're looking to achieve? And then ultimately, how do we get to what we're looking to accomplish in our career? Does that sound about right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm a little bit more of a detailed, but still synopsis of that is I don't have a demographic. I have a psychographic. And what I mean by that is the people I serve, I'm committed to serving people who are in a certain internal state. So it's not industry specific because overwhelm, burnout, just the stress load that creates just mental strain. It doesn't discriminate among industries or among gender. Now, the majority of people I serve are women because of this. And this is why I was so excited when you brought up this topic, is the burden that women carry is unreal, especially when they are like, I serve visionary high achievers, people who aren't in a job to have a job. They work because they're passionate about what they do and they believe in what they do. But the demands, the strain, the pressure cooker environment of the last 2 years, all these factors create so much overwhelm, confusion, and burnout. So I have a proven method of, first, it's 3 phases of support in what I do. And again, that's why I'm so passionate about this topic that you're bringing up. The first phase is completely internal work of getting you into a state of calm, out of the overwhelm, out of the burnout, out of the anxiety, out of the just crushing pressure, and into a state of calm so you can function in a really healthy manner, which then allows you in the second phase of work to define what is it that is deeply aligned with not only who I am and what I'm passionate about, but the season of life that I'm in.
Yes.
Because when those are in conflict, it creates so much pressure and collapse. And then the phase 3 is, okay, now that you've defined the what, let's define the how, AKA the aligned long-term sustainable strategy for you to execute on that and not return to a state of collapse.
Yes.
So in bullet point version, that's what I do.
I love that. I think so much of that rings true with the last year of my journey of not stopping working, becoming a mother, figuring out this inner dialogue of what I'm supposed to be doing. How does that look? These expectations. So I am super passionate and just really resonate with what you just said. So I'm very grateful you're here to talk about this with us because there's not enough light on it for sure, especially the burden, the pressure that a lot of women in particular take on and put on themselves.
Could not agree more.
So before we dive into a little bit of that, it'll be a nice segue into the next thought I had. I do want to just get a little bit of background on your home life. So can you tell us a little bit about how long you've been with your husband, your boys, how old are they, and kind of where Prime Collaborative fit into that timeline for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's perfect. Yes. This is an easy one to answer. So my husband and I got married 7 years ago. And at the time, my husband was in the military and his deployment schedule was insane. So within 4 months of him deploying, us getting married, he deployed.
Oh my gosh.
And I found out I was pregnant. It's a surprise pregnancy. Long story, but I had a history of severe health issues. Have been told you probably won't be able to have kids. We wanted to, but we didn't have that expectation. And our plan was to wait until he came home from deployment because we want to do the process together. So it was
and plans never work out.
They don't. It's all about like how you move forward with the surprises, right?
Yep.
But that all plays into this timeline because we got married 7 years ago. Within 4 months, he's deploying. I have this surprise, wonderful, but overwhelmingly surprising pregnancy. And right before I found out I was pregnant, I decided to launch Prime Collaborative. So this timeline is very, it's a tight one.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, here was my logic. My husband is deploying. I'm going to have a lot of free time. Now is the perfect time for me to make the transition from coaching with the company, because I've been a coach for 11 years, and to launching my own coaching practice. And this plays into the bigger picture, so I don't want to get too distracted by the details, but I ended up having a very high risk, high complication pregnancy.
Okay.
And so the build of the business did not look at all, the launch did not look at all like I thought it would. Just surprise after surprise. And that pregnancy created a lot of like physical strain that was unexpected.
Yeah.
That's really part of a different part of the story, but that's the timeline. So 7 years ago, married.
Yep.
Within 4 months, launched the business. Same month, find out I'm surprised pregnant. And we now have a almost 6-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. And it's been throughout that entire, like the formation of our family and marriage and kids, that Prime was birthed as well.
I love that. And at what stage did your husband come on board in terms of being your business partner in this?
Yes. So we transitioned him out of the military. That was a big leap for him. We transitioned him out of the military 4 years ago. And at the time, his dream was, I want to crush it in corporate. He was excited about it. He's also a high achiever. He thought that was the dream. And 2 years in, he realized like, it's not all it's cracked up to be for me.
Yeah.
He was hitting burnout. He became my ideal client, honestly. Okay. Sadly, but fortunately, and so we transitioned him out of corporate a year ago, and he came on board with Prime last spring. Awesome. So spring of 2021.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Awesome. That's a different challenge, right? Working alongside your partner versus the one of having to balance your work alongside your partner.
It's pretty wild. You go, okay, not that we've got it all figured out. It's like, we've been doing the marriage thing for a while. Like we did the best friend thing, then we did the married thing, we've done the parenting thing, and that's a continuous learning process. But then to realize like, oh, and now we're going to learn how to be in a relationship as business partners. And when you realize that you're doing literally every aspect of your life is as a team, there's no like, oh, you talk about your work and I talk about mine. There's very real like friction to figure out of like, there's literally no space that is our own.
Yes.
And how do we do that in a healthy manner? How do we create healthy compartments in order to work together and then step out of the work box and return back to being like partners?
Yeah. There's a lot of lines that get crossed and a lot of boundaries that need to be set that you have to figure out together. Yeah, that is a process. I want to jump into mindset a little bit, kind of going back into how you support your clients, because mindset is obviously such a huge piece of how we function as individuals. And it's not just how we approach day-to-day tasks, but also I found with kind of our worth as a whole, right? As individuals and as moms, where we assign our worth. And for me, there was this huge narrative of having to be productive, kind of almost exhaustive to a point of like, okay, if I can do it all in this facet, I'm worthy of another facet. That in itself is exhausting, right? It's like, do I work hard enough at this business, make enough money for me to be worthy of spending this time away from my kids? And do I do enough on the other end? Like, is dinner on the table every night? Do I take my kids to and from carpool perfectly on time every single day to have me feel worthy enough of having this business, of this thing for myself that I can grow and nurture outside of the motherhood duties that I have? So,
am I doing enough in my work to justify what I'm not doing in my personal life? And am I doing enough in my personal life to give me the permission to work?
Absolutely. Yep, exactly. And it's very intrusive, right? That thought. So did you find that that narrative or that mindset was something that you experienced? And did that change at all when your boys came into the picture?
Yes. 1,000 times yes.
Yeah.
So again, like, I'll keep saying it over and over again. I love when you reached out and what you shared about what we were going to talk about, because I'm like, dead on. Everybody's story is a little bit different, but the topics, the focuses that you shared, I'm like 100%, this has been a part of my experience and my story, because this worth piece is a key of what I've been guiding clients through as one of the real solutions to their problem. Like, we identify so many surface solutions, right? And I, in my coaching space, deliver like, hey, one of the real solutions is getting deeply grounded and established in your worth. Because when you can get into that state of calm of like, my worth is not attributed to how much I produce, achieve, create, serve. When I just have intrinsic worth, I know how to say no to the things that are not for me, and therefore properly and efficiently and wildly effectively dedicate my valuable and limited time and energy to the things that really matter and that move the needle. So I was very solid. Like, I went through, everybody, their story creates their filter and their lens and through how they learn things and view the world. I had to do that worth and identity work earlier in my life and my career, pre-parenting. Like, I was a former workaholic, former perfectionist. And I went through a very radical pivot in my career that was something that happened to me, not something that I chose. Long story short, I was in a career I loved, got into a really bad car accident with a drunk driver, and it changed my life. And all of a sudden, my go, go, go was not an option anymore. And I had to confront that worth issue then.
Yeah.
So then fast forward, I'm a coach. I've been a coach for years. By the time I had my first son, I'd been coaching for 5 years and had been doing this kind of mindset work. And it's like, I'm grounded, I'm solid.
Yeah.
And then I had a child.
Yes.
And it was like whole new level. And I had a very, high complication pregnancy. So I was physically completely depleted by the time I gave birth. I had a very complicated birth. I use this word cautiously because I do feel like it's overused, but I had a very traumatic birth. I had to acknowledge it for what it was.
Yep.
And then our firstborn had severe health issues in the first year of his life that we had to navigate. So the stress factors were unreal.
Yeah.
And just out of lack of experience and naivety, I had made assumptions about how soon I could go back to work and what I could do. And when I got back into work way too soon, when we were confronted with things that we couldn't have anticipated, there's no way, we didn't have a crystal ball where we could know I was going to have major health complications after the pregnancy, that our son would. We had created zero margins in space for any possibility of that.
Yeah.
And it's not a matter of having like negative thinking, like assuming things are going to be just a shitstorm after you have a kid, but we just created zero space for rest, for the possibility of maybe extra care, extra time that would be needed.
Yeah.
And so I dove right back into work, and I did not, this is like, that having a child just took things to a whole new level. I didn't feel like I had the right to outsource childcare. It was like, I can handle it. It's not that big a deal. Like I should be able to do this. I should be able to do that.
It's that pesky word, should. That's the radar needs to go off.
And I realized there was a whole new level of like, I believe that my worth as a wife, a mom, a business owner completely relies on me being able to handle it all.
Yeah.
I was crushed under the weight of it.
Yeah.
Like I was confronted with my complete inability to do it.
Yep.
And it was like the most painful learning curve to walk through that and to just be, I was brought to the end of myself again. I thought I had like, oh yeah, I'm in a good place. I was like, I have never been brought to my knees like this before, of hitting my limit, going beyond my limit, completely falling apart, like total transparency because of the health issues, the sleep deprivation. Like I was hallucinating on a daily basis.
Yeah.
That led to severe postpartum depression.
Yeah.
It led to postpartum anxiety, which I'd never wrestled with before.
Yeah.
And me going to my husband and being like, and I'm a very resilient person. I'm very strong and capable, and literally saying the words like, I don't know how to keep going. Like I literally don't know how to keep going. And he was in a really rough place of making the transition out of the military. So he's in his own identity crisis. He's pushing for his last 12 months. He's working 60-hour weeks.
Yeah.
He was pushing to finish his undergrad degree before he got out. So he's working 60-hour weeks. He's in his senior year of his undergrad. And he had no capacity. It wasn't that he was an uninvolved partner. He just had so little time to give.
Yeah.
The beauty in it, though, is it brought me to my breaking point. And I had to do a whole new layer of work that is now incorporated into my coaching process, where I was like, when I did this work, it was the game changer for me. And it like took all the work and all the tools I'd already done and already obtained and like freaking lit them on fire. It made them just fully activate within my life.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, okay, that was hell that I went through.
Yes.
But instead of just surviving it and getting through, I'm going to learn from it and never make those mistakes again.
Yep.
And there was just that deep gut knowledge of like, I have to deliver this to my clients because this changed everything for me.
Yeah. I mean, I have goosebumps listening to you talk right now. Like I'm getting a little choked up about it because honestly, like hearing that story, while parts of it don't resonate necessarily to that same extent with my own, I know deep down that there are women that are going to hear that story from you and say, thank God I'm not the only one. And I mentioned this a little bit to you in terms of the inspiration of this project. And it's moments like that you just shared of like, when I had heard a story of a stranger told to me, like I had gone through a similar, not to that extent, journey over the first year of my daughter's life. I thought I was okay.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see outside of the fog until you're outside of the fog. And there was a lot of that pressure of, it took me a little bit longer to recover than I expected to from birth. I was like, okay, well, this isn't ideal. This sucks. Why is this happening to me? Right? There's the dinger too.
Yeah.
And a lot of frustration around needing to do it all and not okay. So my husband was extremely hands-on from the birth of my daughter. And I'm very grateful because I didn't see it then. And I see it now of how much I needed that support and that time. Right. And he saw it and was able to give, thankfully. But there was also a lot of people, my sister being one, my parents being another, some of my best friends saying some things along the lines of what I just thought I needed to hear, right? Of like, this is hard. It's okay that it's hard, or it's okay that you're crying right now, or you'll get through this. Things that I think they expected I needed, but was like the worst thing I needed in that moment of like, I think you're just telling me what I want to hear. Like, I don't believe you. So hearing these stories from somebody else made me actually realize that I'm not alone. There's nothing wrong with these moments of anger that I have right now, this moment of frustration that like, I have to change another diaper. I'm just sitting here crying in the middle of the floor. Like all of that is okay. And I needed to hear somebody else say it for me to realize that I'm not the only one experiencing it. So the goosebumps are real. I'll tell you that right now when I'm listening to you. So, you know, in terms of a lot of things are coming to mind for me and questions that I have for you, but so at what point in that time span of like the first year of your son's life, did you recognize that you weren't thriving? Did you come to the realization that I can't continue in this path anymore? Husband, I need you, or, you know, support team, I need you. What point did that hit for you?
Ooh, there were several iterations of awareness.
Yeah.
Before it was like, oh, this isn't just something where I need to figure it out. I actually have to like call hard stop and deal before I can do anything like that, you know, that breaking point of like, oh, my world is not going to continue to spin. I have to stop it, deal before I can move forward. It got to be that extreme. So the first level of awareness, honestly, was like right after birth. And some of this is specific to my journey, but I had this shocking realization probably just a week after birth of like, I am not okay. And it was really disturbing because I didn't know why. I'd had a lot of friends have kids before me, and I'm so grateful that they were the friends who they didn't focus on all the negative and hard, like, oh, you just wait, you'll never sleep. They weren't negative, but they were honest. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, hey, these are hard things. So it wasn't the shocking revelation of like, oh, the postpartum period is crazy hard. None of that was a shock to me. I was like, oh yeah, my friends, thank God my friends were honest about this. Like nothing is catching me by surprise.
Yeah.
And I was grateful for that. But there was this weird moment I will never forget. I walked into the bathroom and I looked at myself in the mirror, and it was like seriously like a week postpartum. And I was like, I'm not okay. And I didn't know what was wrong.
Yeah.
And I was at my 6-week follow-up appointment, and I started sharing, and thank God, I mean, it was just divine. Who I was like, the OBGYN who I saw after, she looked at me and she's like, something's wrong. And I was like, mm-hmm. And she starts looking and like looking at my medical intake form, and she started asking questions, and I just started sobbing because what had happened was in birth, like the birth process. And I discovered that psychologically, this is very normal. The process of birth was very triggering for me from sexual abuse in my past that I hadn't resolved. It was literally abuse. I've had multiple instances of sexual abuse in my past. I thought I had dealt with it.
Yeah.
But there was one instance of abuse that I had completely suppressed the memory.
Mm-hmm.
And it was triggered in the process of birth because it's a very vulnerable opening. It can be very sexually traumatic.
Yeah.
And because I repressed the memory, like, I'm not okay. Nothing in me is okay. And I don't know why. And she knew the questions to answer, and she would like the questions to ask. And I was like, the memory just hit. And I was like, oh my God, no wonder I'm not okay. That was that first level of awareness. Like, I got to do something about this. But then it was the compound effect of my son, realizing my son had health issues. Like, he literally wasn't thriving. He was falling off the charts. We couldn't get him to gain weight. My husband went back to work 10 days after birth, and he's completely unavailable to me. So it was at about 3 months in, you know, just a week after birth, I know I'm not okay. And about 4 months in, I'm like, I cannot keep going. Like I literally cannot figure out how to put one foot in front of the other anymore. I'm a very, like I said, high achiever, push through, make it work. I got this. I can handle this.
Yeah.
And it was that realization of like, for the first time in my life, even with all of the traumatic stuff I've been through in my past, I'm hitting the wall that I can't get past. Like I literally cannot keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and you talk a little bit about like the work that you did to help you through this period of having to re-ground yourself, redefine your worth for yourself in this particularly challenging time of your life of all of these narratives coming back up. What tools did you leverage to get you through that? I mean, in terms of self-care, for me, it looks a lot like meditation and journaling, but I feel like when you hit a stage like that, where you just, that to me is a lot of maintenance work and self-care, and extremely vital. But when you hit a stage like that, like what did that type of work look like for you?
Yeah. This again is touching on something that I'm really passionate about because I'm a massive proponent of self-care. Don't get me wrong. But when you're at that point, I'm like, self-care can't touch that. Self-care, I think, is the maintenance of when you're in a state of health. It helps maintain it and protect it. So the way I describe it is like, I picture it like a wound, like a deep wound. Like I'm walking around with this deep wound.
Yeah.
And self-care, I think, is like the ointment and the fresh bandage that you put on a wound to help it heal and close. But it's like, if all I do with a major gaping wound is put on Band-Aids, like the wound will never heal, and it's not actually a solution.
Yeah.
I actually have to go in, get the wound cleaned out, get it stitched closed, and then the self-care can do its job.
Yeah.
I was doing all the self-care things like this should help. This should help. I'm going to go on my daily walk. I'm going to get my sunshine and fresh air. I'm going to journal. I'm going to, and it's like, this is actually getting worse, which creates this false sense of like defeat. Cause it's like, I'm doing all the things and I'm getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was actually becoming more of a problem than a solution.
Yeah.
And so, sitting in the coaching space and in the realm of coaching that I'm in, I had so much knowledge, tools at my fingertips. Like being in that world, I'm so like, I could do that program. I could use this tool. And one of the hardest things I ever had to do, but I'm so grateful I did, is I just paused. And I was like, I have the option. I can just start grabbing at every tool I can to get some relief and move forward. But there was that deep intuitive, like, I've got to go quiet and get still so that I can actually see which path forward is the one that's going to get me out of this shit pile.
Yeah.
Of like up to here. And as a doer, as an achiever, that's one of the hardest things for me to do is to just go, I'm just going to get still and I'm going to stop moving. I'm going to let everything get quiet so I can see the right path forward. So, I hit that really brick wall at 4 months postpartum, but it wasn't until my son was a year old that I was able to determine what the path forward was for me, like the right tools to get out of that place. So between that 8-month period was brutal. And it was just like, okay, I'm just going to put one foot in front of the other. I'm going to do simple things. And the biggest thing was like, I'm going to have grace for myself. Like, I just have to be patient and I have to have grace because until I get the answer, I had to commit. I will not just grab at every solution I can see and hope that it's going to help me. I will not buy into that hustle.
Yeah.
And so it was at a year when my son turned a year, we were a year postpartum, that I found out about this deep dive therapeutic approach that was very much about dealing with some deep wounding in my life.
Yeah.
That was highlighted through my son's birth, like the places in me that were deeply neglected that needed to be taken care of. And it was this deep dive, intensive therapeutic process that changed my life. And it just took care of those gaping places of pain inside of myself that I was able to move forward in like the most vibrant, solid place of health I'd ever been in, where I was able to set aside like, oh, I have zero issue setting boundaries. I have zero issue saying, I'm going to outsource, like getting really practical into the motherhood. Like, this is the kind of childcare I need. I don't care what it costs. This is the kind of help around the house that I need. And I am worth it. And it wasn't trying to convince myself or justify it. It was like, I know my worth and my value. I know what it requires for me to thrive.
Yep.
And this is it. Because I'm deeply tapped back into who I am, what I need, and what works for us as a family. And screw you on everybody else telling me this is how it's done.
Yeah.
This is the way to go. It was like, what does our family need? What is our unique construct that will help us as a family thrive, where I can continue in? Because I had that evaluation of, am I just working to prove my worth? It's like, no, I'm continuing to work because I actually really love and believe in what I do. And I don't want to stop. And it does help me feel more alive.
Yeah.
I don't want to release that part of me, but I also want to be a present, peaceful, joyful mom.
Yes.
And going, I can't have it all, and screw the messaging of you can have it all or you can do it all, mom. You're a super mom. I hate that. Frankly. Hate it. I'm like, but I can 100% have the things I value most, and I can do them well. If I just fully release expectations, if I fully release how I'm told it should be done, I can have what I value most. I can do both well, and I can feel so healthy and joyful in the process.
Yes.
And it was just going, okay, this is what we're spending money on. This is what we're outsourcing. This is what we're asking help for. And that investment, the ROI on that investment has been on every front. It's been financial growth in the business, and being the most successful entrepreneur I've been yet in my business. I am healthier than I've ever been. My kids are healthy. My marriage is healthy. And that's where people go on the outside and they're like, wow, you have it all. And I'm like, no, I do not. And do not feel that pressure from me. Yeah. I don't want to paint that picture. You pose some of these questions, like pulling back the veil, like, okay, how does, and I don't know when we'll get to that in the conversation.
Yeah, please.
Like, I fully disclose to people how we make it happen.
Yes.
Because they're like, wow, you're healthy and your marriage seems really strong and your kids seem really happy and healthy. You'll have a healthy family dynamic and your business is growing. Like the last 2 years, even though they've been wildly intense in the world, have been the most dramatic years of growth in my business yet.
Yeah.
Even in the midst of having another child, which obviously the lessons learned after my first, I applied those lessons with our second, and it was a radically different experience, like radically different. But, you know, it's things like I looked at it and I was like, okay, what do I want? You know, when I was in survival mode, if somebody asked me, what do you want? I literally couldn't answer them. My brain couldn't even go there. It couldn't even access that. Like, what do you need? And what do you want? And I'm like, I have no idea. I'm just hanging on. And that's all I can think about.
Yes.
Like that's the only answer I can give you is how I'm surviving. And so it took that healing process to be able to go, what do I want? And I was like, I want in-home childcare. I want to breastfeed. I mean, getting really practical, like I want to breastfeed. I don't want that to be a stressful process. I want childcare so I can continue to work. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
It means home childcare where I have a nanny that I feel really good about. I schedule calls. I pop out. I breastfeed my baby. I get skin to skin time. I get that lovely oxytocin and then I go back to work.
Yeah.
And we found that is a game changer for us. Like we have phenomenal childcare that we feel so good about. And it's zero stress for me as a mom, you know, and she is turned into, and this is just like, we struck gold on this girl. And I think it's because we were not like, it was a non-negotiable to have somebody we loved and she's a good fit. She now does things like she does our weekly grocery run for us. No bashing on it. I personally hate Instacart. It is like my worst nightmare.
Somebody's always wrong.
It's never made my life simpler. Yes.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, you know, that was when we're thinking like how to outsource things in our lives to create a greater quality of life and allow us to focus on family and work and kind of shit everything else. Instacart was not the answer for us. I know it is for so many people, like go Instacart, you know, but she does our weekly grocery shopping. She runs our load of laundry. The laundry day, she manages it while our son is napping.
Yeah.
Things like that. So I'm like, guys, we pay for that. I don't do it. We found the value in like, we will pay somebody so that when I step out of work, like this is a real picture into my life. When I step out of work, I don't have any responsibilities except for making dinner.
Yep.
It's just like, I get to be with my boys. I get to connect with my husband. And it's worth every penny that we pay in exorbitant childcare for the quality of life and my mental health and my physical health and my relational health in my family. I show up and I serve completely single-minded, screw multitasking. It's awful. I'm like singularly
not possible.
My work. It is such a facade. It is such an illusion. And I'm so against it. So I'm able to be solely focused on my work, which my brain is at rest, even as it's working, because it's focused on one thing. And then I step out of work and I'm like, and I'm ready to be with my family. And I get to do something that I really enjoy. Like I enjoy making dinner for my family. It's like a therapeutic end of the day, like wraps the workspace, shifts me into personal space. I make dinner. I play with my boys. I read them books before bed. We have a 3-day weekend every week. We rest, we play. We're not doing chores. We have someone who comes and cleans our house. And I used to feel uncomfortable about that. Like, oh, you're such a bougie mom, you know, not doing it. And I'm like, no, the most valuable place for me to spend my time is in my work, not in cleaning my house. So I am now unashamed and unapologetic of, I do not clean my house. I pay somebody to do that. And practically speaking, when I calculate my hourly rate, it's like in 1 hour of my work, I can pay for 6 hours of house cleaning. Why would I not do that? Just, you know, for women where they're questioning their worth, getting practical. I'm like, okay, let's work into that deeper place around your worth. But first, let's help ease your brain a little bit and crunch the numbers. It's like, let's just do the math.
So when you think, sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good. When you
think,
sorry, I'm on a roll. Shut me up.
I love it. No, I want to dive into this a little bit more because I think you're hitting on it so perfectly of identifying what it is that you needed in those moments to get you to a place where you are content, where you feel calm, where you feel grounded, and you've been able to achieve what you've wanted to achieve without the noise kind of cluttering the expectations of you. And I'm
Yes.
curious kind of what advice you would give someone, because it's taken you some time to get here, right? It's not this instantaneous, you heal this wound, I've got this overwhelming sense of clarity and I can apply it all. I'm going to find my nanny, I'm going to find my house cleaner, I'm going to do all of these things. So it takes a lot of time to produce all of that and manifest that, or kind of whatever term you want to use in this
Build it. Yeah.
situation, build this for yourself. What advice do you have for women who are just at the start of that journey of knowing that there's a wound here? I'm ready to start healing. I want to get to this place of clarity where I know exactly what it is I need to feel like I'm thriving. How do we get from that point to that point, from point A to point Z?
So good. I love that you highlighted the timeline. We're very aware that we're in an instant gratification kind of culture and society and messaging.
Absolutely.
Even
yes.
like on social media where you do, and I'm not hating on it, but again, like there's subconscious messaging that we receive and begin to believe without even realizing it.
Yeah.
Like you see the weight loss transformations on TikTok. They do, you know what I'm talking about? The trend where they do it went from this and then they do the hand on the,
Yes.
Hand on the screen. And then it went to this.
Yes.
And they've lost 100 pounds. And like, I applaud that. But even that, logically in your head that didn't happen overnight, but we are subconsciously believing I should be able to create massive change and transformation very quickly.
Very quickly. Yes.
And when you're in a state of desperation and great need, you are craving that. Like, I need big change and I need it now. So that compounds that pressure of I should, and it comes back to that nasty word, I should be able to figure this out and change it fast. So my first piece of advice, and this is actually meant to infuse hope and not discouragement of it's going to take time, and know that like you have time.
Yep.
Got time. And every small iterative step is going to bring relief. So just absorb and appreciate the little steps of relief as they come. Don't wait for the big, massive sweep of relief to feel relief. Like appreciate every small step of progress.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, when you take that patient, slow but steady approach, the momentum starts to pick up. Literally, the speed, it starts to snowball.
Yeah.
So like it's going to pick up speed, but in the beginning, and I think what's so valuable about it and the gift of that, it's not a downside. I really believe it's a benefit, is that even the slow process, when you allow it and you don't resist it, it forces you into the addressing of that deep core place of like your worth, of I am worth the time it takes for healing. Going back to like a medical example, any deep work that's done, like let's take open heart surgery. For me, that's the level that it was. That's how deep the wounding was. Think about, even if you've never had open heart surgery, I'm sure somebody in your life has, somebody in your world has.
Yeah.
And what do the doctors tell you? Like, we're literally going to crack open your rib cage. We're going to do this open heart surgery. And then where do you go after surgery? Well, first of all, it's like an 8, 9, sometimes 14-hour surgery. It's a long surgery. You're getting my emphasis on time.
Yeah.
And then where do you go? You go to ICU. Why? Because you need intensive care. They don't roll you out of surgery and discharge you. They're like, okay, you're going to spend a few days in ICU where we make sure you're stable and you're good to go. Then we're going to move you into a regular room and we're going to bring in a physical therapist to help you acclimate to this new healthy way of functioning and put the tools in your hands so that when you go home, you know how to take care of yourself. This is my advice on that. Like from that analogy, like recognize like, oh, I am worth the expense, the time, and the care that something that this deep requires.
Yes.
And if I rush that process, guaranteed I'll land myself back in the same space again. So it is worth the time. So recognizing first, my first piece of advice is recognize and embrace the fact that it's going to take time, and that is going to support the work you're doing on your worth. Second, then knowing like, oh, each small iterative step will bring relief. Like knowing that, like each small improvement will bring relief. I don't have to wait for relief for the big sweeping change. It's already happening. And if I recognize that, I will actually get to experience it. And knowing that where that momentum piece comes in, like I was saying, that snowball effect, like it's going to start picking up speed. When your wounding is taken care of and you shift into healthy operation, that's where you then have the ability to identify and create your unique strategy for health and success, for your business, for your health, for your family. What we've created in our family is what works for us. And it's because I was healthy and I was grounded that I had that clarity to go, this is what works for us. And I don't need to worry about what everybody else is doing. I don't need to wonder, oh, should I be doing that? Oh, maybe I'm doing it wrong. There was that just confidence of this was what works for our family and we will unapologetically build it. And that's where the rapid like snowball effect really occurred. So that piece of advice is like, hey, remember when you invest in your care first, it will tangibly, strategically change your life in every facet. So don't skip that stage. Like that is the most important stage. And don't think it's just going to be this intangible benefit. It will translate into the tangible in mind-blowing kind of ways.
Yeah, I love that. I think there's a lot of things that have stuck out to me that you just mentioned. One of them being celebrate those little reliefs, those little wins, because those are the ones that are going to get you through the day to day, right? It is such a long process that it's like, if we cannot be grateful for the fact that I woke up today and took a shower and got to wash my hair. And I'm not rushing to like get my kid out of the crib. To me, that's a win a lot of days. And I'm grateful for that, right? And it's being able to be aware of those little wins that will get you there and the trust and this surrender and that you have the momentum around you to get you to where you ultimately want to go. You don't know how to get there yet, and that's okay. That has been the game changer for me ultimately of being able to just not know. I may not have the clarity on the how just yet, but I know where I want to get to. And if I can just trust that these little wins, these little bits of clarity, these little bits of relief of the day to day, they're all going to add up and they're going to eventually give me this mountain opening, the sunlight coming through the clouds. Hopefully it'll be that momentous, or it's just going to drop in one day and be like, that could be it. That is truly special, right? Having that clarity and that awareness around that, because it does take time, but we are worthy of the wins every day. And
absolutely,
that's a huge piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. And when you recognize, like, I'm playing the long game here. And when I'm willing to play the long game, I get the long-term benefit. I create a long runway for like this working, not the quick relief that doesn't like, think about it, like a quick solution doesn't provide a long-term solution ever.
Right.
And so it's going like, I'm willing to believe that I'm worth the time that it takes and embrace the long-term solution. What I'm also getting is the long runway, the long-term shift, the long-term success. It's worth it and you are worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I am curious from your perspective. So, and I'm not all that familiar beyond what you've shared with us today in terms of your story. So in terms of, we hit different stages and you had launched your business right alongside your first pregnancy and your husband being deployed and kind of all of these unforeseen circumstances kind of happening. And I want to shift a little bit to the mindset of running a business and starting one kind of alongside these motherhood duties, but also life duties and, you know, whatever life throws your way. What advice do you have for women who are kind of started a business? It could potentially be their livelihood, right? It's what putting the food on the table and paying the bills. And they don't necessarily have luxury, maybe is a word to say, to get still at every moment of the day. And they're waiting for this clarity to come in on how to eventually thrive and not just survive. Do you have any advice for those women who are launching a business, who are just trying to survive?
Man, that's so good. Yes. As you just touched on, there were so many unforeseen surprises, some positive, some super challenging that came up. And as far as mindset goes, I think one of the key things I really shy away, and I'll explain this in a second, but I really shy away from some of the strong ideology of this isn't happening to me, it's happening for me, because I think it can almost promote a positive vibes only kind of pressure of like, I'm only allowed to be positive about this. And I think there's something really key in mindset of not wallowing in the suck, not doing the victim mindset or the poor me, but allowing yourself to be a human and go, this sucks.
Yes.
When we try to just high vibes only, positive thinking only, the struggle, the like real just human part where you go, this is really freaking hard, gets suffocated, but it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
So it becomes this thing that you end up having to devote so much mental and emotional time and energy to like squashing. Like, I'm not allowed to feel that way. And then it ends up consuming more time and energy than it ever needed.
Yes.
So on that first piece of like mindset, like I had to allow myself to go, this is really freaking hard and this sucks. Now, how can I, so not immediately going to this is not happening to me, it's happening for me, but going, how does this, instead of trying to ignore and override how this is a part of my journey, my story, how do I embrace the fact that it is providing clarity and direction in my path forward of like, okay, this is not a circumstance to try to ignore, override. How do I actually bring it into my story and allow it to shape how I'm moving forward?
Yes. Yes. What becomes a part
of, that it becomes a part of my purpose, where pain becomes a part of my purpose. So it's not the dismissal of the pain. It's going, okay, pain, how are you channeling me forward? Like this is how it practically translated for me. Instead of just getting through the shitstorm after my first son, I'm going to do the work. And that's where I became, this literally has to become a part of my coaching process. I need to add this into the work I do with my clients. So I did the training and got the certification and I brought it in. So it wasn't, okay, thank God I survived that. Now back to work. It was like, wait a second, how does this become a part of my work?
Yes.
And that creates a massive mindset shift, I believe, in going, that wasn't an obstacle in my way. It actually served me in moving forward, because I am now more passionate and more focused than I've ever been in my work because of what I went through.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm now connecting, and like, this is where I'll get emotional. I'm now like have the opportunity to connect with phenomenal women like you who reach out to me out of the blue and go, wait a second, there's something about your story, I think.
Yeah.
Will you share it? And I'm like, yes, 1,000 times. Yes.
Yes.
And if I had viewed those obstacles as like, all they did was get in my way and inhibit me and slow me down, first of all, it probably would have eventually made me throw in the towel and go, I'm done. I give up. And it would have kept me back from having more passion and more clarity and more impact in my work than I've ever had before.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I didn't get there by going, this is happening for me instead of to me, but I went, this is happening. I'm going to allow myself to say this freaking sucks and it's hard and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And how is this providing more clarity and purpose as I move forward and shaping my business, the direction, the growth, the vision? And that was a game changer. And so again, like we just talked about kind of with my personal healing, I also had to mindset wise go, it will take the time that it takes.
Yeah.
There is no timeline. I am not going to let my brain run on Forbes 30 under 30. And this is where you should be, freaking word again. Right. This is where your business should be 2 years in. And you read those statistics, like if your business isn't at this point in 2 years, it has an 80% chance of failing. Based on those statistics, my business should not be running today.
Right.
If I had believed those statistics, I would have shut my business down like, well, I guess I failed. Because it did take longer. I couldn't build at a regular pace with all my physical issues, with all of my trauma, with my son's physical issues. Like I was all hands on deck, literally keeping my son alive.
Right.
Literally keeping my son alive. And if I had allowed all of that to just be like, well, I just can't keep going. It was like, no, for this season, it's going to press pause, but I'm coming back.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay if my story, my timeline, my process looks different than what the world says. This is what it has to look like to be marked as you will succeed. You're going to make it as a business. And so it's like, that's another huge mindset thing is I think releasing the timeline and going, my timeline is my timeline.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
When if I feel in my gut, it's time to shut it down. That's when I'll shut it down.
Yeah.
But until I feel that, it will take the time that it takes.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
The pressure is unreal. It's so invasive, right? It's those articles, yes. It's the statistics that you read, you should be doing this many hours if you're going to dedicate it, full-time, part-time.
Yeah. If you're really passionate about it, you
really
won't bat an eye at 80 hours a week.
Right. Right. And it's so frustrating and there's so much pressure. And I loved something that you said, and I wrote it down because I wanted to just highlight it again of like, we're all in different seasons throughout our life and it takes time to get through them, but it's okay to just sit there in that present moment and say, okay, pain, I see you. You're here. This sucks. How are you channeling me forward? Mm-hmm. How can I take something from this moment and learn from it and use it moving forward to my advantage? And it's okay that it doesn't happen right away. And it doesn't have to happen tomorrow. It doesn't have to happen in the next month. It doesn't even have to happen in the next year, but you are aware of it. It will come. And
you view your pain. It creates such a different lens for which to view your pain. Instead of seeing it as an obstacle, you do see it as a building block forward. Again, it's like, it's not the building block I would have chosen, but it's a building block nonetheless. Right. To give really tangible advice on how to create that mindset shift specifically in this area. A question that I ask myself, and again, it's not, to see the silver lining, but it's so powerful to shift the mind is when you're looking at one of those really hard, challenging circumstances, asking yourself the question of how is blank, that situation, the best thing that ever happened to me?
Yeah.
And the follow-up question to that is, what action do I need to take in the next 30 days to make that statement true? First of all, it shifts your brain into going, wait a second, this could be, because I look back on that phase now and I'm like, it's the best thing that ever happened to me because now who I'm able to serve, how I'm able to serve them, to impact the women I'm connecting with. I would not trade that for the world. Yeah. It is seriously one of the best things that ever happened to me because of where I am today. And again, it's being able to look back, but it's starting to give that future forward thinking in the moment.
Yeah.
And then that practical question of like, instead of it just being something you think about, it puts you into that tiny iterative steps, those tiny steps of action that you go, and I get to be a part of making that change. Like, what do I have to do in the next 30 days to start making that statement true?
Yes.
And for me, it was like, I'm going to take the time to do the work. And it's taken 6 years to progress to this point. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, man, it was worth the time.
Yes. The big key to that too is knowing, yes, that you have the power to take those steps too, right? It's like, it's not
helpless.
You're not helpless. You will get through it. There has to be some level of trust too, that this moment right now is so hard, so hard. Mm-hmm. I trust that I will get to the other side of this. Yes. What does the other side look like? And how can I help myself get there? Is such a big piece. And we'll wrap this up shortly too, because I don't want to take up too much of your time, but there's a lot of what we do, I think, and a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves. And I am grateful for you joining me today, Hannah. Thank you so much. I am really glad we did this. And again, hopeful that this will create a community for women who are in similar life stages, kind of grappling with that dialogue of, this situation in my life is really hard and I have all these lofty goals and I want to do all of these things. And there's a lot of this pressure. How do we get calm? How do we get grounded? How do we get clear? And how do we just trust the timeline that it will unfold? I'm excited for what this project eventually, I'm hoping through some of these first interviews, we'll get some kind of clarity on what the life of this project is going to look like. So I appreciate you starting from the beginning with me. In terms of, I want to highlight maybe listeners, maybe readers, however they're finding us at this point for them, how can they find you? So how can they find the Prime Collaboratives? website, Instagram, what's the best way for them to interact with you?
Yeah, really simple. I'm on Instagram. My handle is Prime Collaborative. Slide into those DMs. See what I'm doing over there. I'll be really frank, like social media is not where I spend the majority of my time. That's one of those things, like I'm a lover, not a hater on it, but it's like one of the first places that goes when other priorities are in place.
For sure.
But I'm there and I'm active and I'll show up in the DMs for sure. I love the conversations. You can also just reach out via email, hannah@primecollaborative.com. Check out my website, primecollaborative.com. It's easy. There's no like change up here. Noticeably Prime Collaborative.
I love
and I'm supporting people on a one-to-one level in a deep dive process. And I also have a 3-month program for like high impact, especially for that first stage of shift and like just making that initial change, getting that healing work done in place.
Yep.
So that you can expedite that timeline. Like that's what I wished for, is that somebody had given me those tools a lot sooner.
Yes.
Because I have no regrets, but I look back and I'm like, there was a lot of time for me spent lost in the wilderness, looking for that helping hand, looking for that person. And again, that's why I said 1,000 times yes. And we're like, hey, I'm just starting this. And I'm like, I'm in, because I didn't know. Nobody was having this conversation and I didn't know. And so yeah, that 3-month process, like, hey, let's expedite that for you. You don't have to spend months and years trying to find a way through this.
Yep.
So multiple ways that I support people in this very position.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this today, your story, your business. I hope people will find some comfort in knowing that their stories are not isolated. They're not alone. And hopefully if they feel inspired, they'll reach out, they'll touch base with you and get the support that they need. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please help us out and leave a review wherever you listen, and consider sharing with your friends. If you're interested in learning a bit more about the project or want to share your story, please visit our website linked in our show notes below.